In this video, we're going to take a look at our mesh feature definitions that we have set up. Those can be found in our current DGN that we're in, or we would set these up in our DGN library that we're building for our agency or custom library. But in our case, we're in a file, so we're going to take a look at the feature definitions category under our mesh category with a subfolder of aggregate. If we look at our TC underbar aggregate type A, we're going to take a look at the mesh tab and the surface feature symbology parameter and see what type of surface feature symbology is set up. If we notice from that parameter, it's set to TC underbar aggregate type A. So we'll scroll down to our feature symbologies category. Can be found under the surface category, and under the surface category we're going to have subcategories of modeling, terrain, and volumes. This particular mesh can be found in our modeling category with a subfolder of aggregate. When we click on that, we'll see our TC aggregate type A, and this will set up the dialog or bring up the dialog once we select on our TC aggregate type A that points to our element templates for our surface feature symbology. If we take a look at the dialog, it has a selection tab with a parameter of name, which is the name of the feature symbology that we're on. It also has a defaults tab with a parameter of default element template. This is where we will set our default element template, and for this example this is pointing to a modeling folder with a subfolder of components and a subfolder of aggregate, and then we point to our TC underbar aggregate type A element template. And by default we should always set the default element template. Underneath the defaults tab there is a profile tab with parameters of element template and annotation group. If we wanted our element template to look different in the profile view, we would set an element template here, and we could also set a annotation group there as well. We have a 3D tab with one parameter of element template. If we wanted our 3D view to look different then our default, we would set a element template here, and anything under the default like the profile tab and 3D tab are going to be overrides to the default. But if we don't want our profile or 3D view to look different, then we wouldn't set anything. We could just set our default and be done. So the profile tab and the parameters under that are overrides to the default. Likewise with the 3D tab, it's an override. So if we take a look at our element templates, let's bring that folder up, we'll notice that we are in our file here. This would be your DGN Lib. We went to our modeling folder with a subfolder of components and a subfolder of aggregate, and if we click on our element template, we'll notice that we have a general settings tab with parameters of levels, colors, line style, weights, and classes. That's where we would set our level and the color, line style, and weight, and set a class, either primary, construction. If it's set to primary, it will print. If it's set to construction, then it won't print. There's also a material settings with a material parameter. That's where we would set our material if we were setting it at the element template level, and that is what in our 3D view is giving the material that it looks like in the 3D view. We also have, if we take a look at our volumes cut, they have the same parameters, but there's no material set to the volume cut or fill. This is just one way to do your element templates. So that is our element template for our surfaces and our surface feature symbology.